Welcome back to the Automation Podcast, the world's number one industrial automation product and technology show. Thanks to you, our audience of highly skilled automation professionals. Thank you for being a member of our audience, and thank you for tuning back in this week. Now, for those new to the show, my name is Shawn Tierney of Insights in Automation, and each week I invite a vendor on the show to tell us about their products and technologies. And during the presentation, I play the role of the audience, and I try to ask questions I think you guys might have, as well as add my own comments from my own experience. Now, given that a quarter of you out there listen to the show and don't actually watch the slides, I'll try to call attention to any visuals that I think you guys, you listen only folks, may want to know about. And with that said, I am very happy to invite back Dennis to the show. He's from Prosoft Technology. That's a Belden company or a Belden brand. And I'm excited to have him back. I reached out to him because they had a really cool product I covered in the morning news show. And so I've invited Dennis back on. And Dennis, before you jump into your presentation, could you take a moment, in case somebody hasn't watched our previous episode together, could you take a moment to introduce yourself to our audience?
Most definitely. Thank you, Shawn. Glad to be back. My name is Dennis Gonzalez. I'm a product manager with Prosoft Technology. I'll give a minute, about myself. I've been working with Prosoft for about 23 years. Prior to being a product manager, I was in the engineering department as working as a senior test engineer, testing all these industrial communications gateways. So now I'll start the presentation. ProSoft has been providing industrial gateways for over 30 years. Our goal is to continue delivering automation solutions that help customers increase the performance of their system, raise productivity while reducing cost. We have both in-chassis and standalone solutions. And I will spend a few minutes on each to explain what the difference are. But the major thing is we play in with all communications, basically Modbus, uh, Profibus, Modbus TCP, Ethernet IP, EIC 61850. I'm going to start with the in-chassis solutions.
But before we jump in, I want to thank theautomationschool.com for sponsoring this episode of the show. That's where you'll find all of my online courses on Allen Bradley and Siemens PLCs and HMIs. So if you know anybody who needs to get up to speed on those products, please mention theautomationschool.com to them. And now let's jump back into the show.
Modbus protocol was originally developed back in 1979, if I recall correctly. Today, there are thousands of vendors out there that have implemented Modbus on their devices, with millions of devices utilizing Modbus as their communication mechanism. We offer a couple of in-rack solutions. The one to the left is the stereo communication, where it has two serial port and it communicates Modbus serial. To the right is Modbus TCP/IP. Our gateway supports about approximately 480 commands with both the database is at about 10,000 words of input output. We have different variations on the Ethernet IP depending on your need or application, where we could be a client up to 30 clients, or it could be a multi-server. Next, I'd like to spend a minute on our flow computing unit. These units are found in oil and gas industry. So basically, uh, they have a way of archiving about four, uh, 1,440 records. The calculations are both for gas and liquid, and it could the in chassis control logics can support up to 16 meters or 16 channels, I should say. It does also does calculations for liquid based on what chapter 11 or chapter 12 calculation methods.
Yeah, I also want to throw in there too for the listening audience, AGA 3 and AGA 7 and 8 support.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, Shawn, that is absolutely correct. The last module that I want to, INRAX module I want to talk about is our 61850 module. Our MPI 56 61850 plan can support up to 40 multi-vendor IEDs. If you're communicating with control logics, it can support up to 225 IO connections. It does support Goose messaging as a publisher or a subscriber, and all as well as MMS, which is the multimedia.
Is IEC 61850, is that more for the power industry? But before we get into that, I wanted to thank those of you who signed up in our new membership program, either on YouTube or at theautomationblog.com. In appreciation of your support, you get exclusive access to the videos of episodes that are not sponsored by the vendor. Now, to learn more about our membership program, which is only $10 a month, please visit theautomationblog.com/memberships. And with that, let's go ahead and jump back into this week's episode.
That is correct. That is correct, Shawn. It is used a lot in the power and energy industry. I'm going to spend a few minutes discussing our gateways, similar to the INRAX modules. Our gateways are one of the advantages that it does not need a slot to be able to communicate to Ethernet IP control logics or compact logics. It can be used next to the devices. Again, many of the devices out there use Modbus serial. In this example, I'm showing ASCII. So it doesn't matter the vendor, as long as it's the same protocol, the unit will be able to communicate with it and bring that information, on to the Ethernet IP controller. This one is used for like integration of legacy devices. There's a lot of devices out there, so this is one of the what I'm saying. Apologize, Shawn. One of the features. Next, I would like to talk about the PLX30s that can communicate with different devices. You don't necessarily need to be, for example, a variety of solutions where information from different devices and vendors can be brought into an Ethernet IP processor. For example, Siemens Profinet. You have Modbus or BFDs, HMIs, ASCII devices like barcode, and the example on the left is displaying a multi-port serial ports for Modbus, where you have different networks communicating Modbus RTU. Some of the key features of the PLX30 family are, they have 10,000 registers, share registered database. They are configured through free PCB configuration software. Our 4-port version allows for segmentation of stereo networks. And it can communicate both client or server. It supports stereo port packet captures to help troubleshooting. Next, I'm going to talk about some legacy system solutions. Sean, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with our Annex 4, but for those of you that are looking to upgrade equipment that communicates via DH, Highway Plus, or Remote I/O, do you have um, do you want to monitor S908 Modicon network? Would you like to control a GE Genius IO device? Do you have a Reliance Automax TCS that needs to be migrated? We have a solution for you.
Yeah, I want to just jump in here for a second too and thank Dennis. He actually sent us an ANX4, and you guys in the audience probably know this because that is the unit that Dennis sent us that I did those two shows on. I did the one show on um, using it like a bridge, and I did the other show where we actually put a panel view, talking panel view on Ethernet to the Data Highway Plus PLC. And so we did that. We actually did a bunch of other things as well with it. But I just wanted to shout out to Dennis for sending that in. He is the one responsible for sending us that unit. We also had that was the previous episode he was on, talking all about that unit. So if you guys want to know more about the ANX4, um, please go check out that episode where Dennis brought us up to speed on that. As far as these ANX3s, these are the ones he's talking about where you go into the S904 based Modicon networks or the GE Genius or the Reliance Automax. So those are the ANX3s we're seeing. If you're not watching, we're seeing these on the screen right now.
Thank you so very much, Sean. I appreciate you jumping in. And yes, I have good news for you regarding the Annex 4. As you know, they are legacy. They help, if you want to migrate to panel views plus or panel views 7. They're also used for programming your DH plus networks. But we recently released a new firmware where now it allows Modbus TCP clients to be able to access PLC data from on this Data Highway Plus
Wow,
network.
nice. That's nice.
Yes, this is totally new. So if all you gotta do is just upgrade your hardware, and you'll be able to communicate Modbus now to talk to SCADAs.
That's awesome. I know there's people out there, they got Modbus TCP and they don't want to do Ethernet IP. So that's really big news.
Great. I'm glad to hear that.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to jump in here and pay some bills. Thank you, first of all, for listening to this episode. And while today's vendor wasn't able to sponsor this episode, I still wanted to invest the time to bring it to you because I think you're like me. You like to learn about new products and technologies. So, with all that said, I'd like to ask you to consider becoming a member for just $10 a month, either on YouTube or at theautomationblog.com, to help me offset the cost of producing these episodes each week. In exchange for your membership, you will receive member-only perks, including access to my daily news show and ad-free editions of every unsponsored episode of this show. With that said, thanks again for tuning in this week, and now we'll return you to this week's episode.
As previously mentioned, the Annex 4 is used to upgrade your panel views, or you could upgrade drives, which all of you know. As recently, we can also upgrade SLC controllers. Basically, the SLCs are going, end of life. So now you could just bring that information and keep the remote I/O networks, and just bring that information to a compact logics or a control logics now that the SLCs are becoming obsolete.
Yeah, that's like we showed how to do the Ethernet to Data Highway Plus, but in these last three slides, for anybody's listening, we're talking about going to remote I/O instead of Data Highway Plus, and that's if you have a bunch of ASBs out there and you want to replace the SLIC with a Control Logics or Compact Logics, that's what this slide is showing us, how that supports that now, and that's really cool.
Thank you, Shawn. And the last slide that I have, as I mentioned, you have a DH Highway Plus communicating to an PLC5, and then now you're able to get that information to multiple via Modbus, to either a PLC or DCS or SCADA. You could have multiple clients being able to access it.
Yeah, and you don't need the 1750 chassis, 1756 chassis, and power supply, Ethernet card, and data plus card, and that data plus card is going obsolete. So this is a great solution, especially if you're trying to tie the old data hardware plus into a Modbus TCP/IP or Ethernet IP network.
Yes, sir. Okay, now I'm gonna start focusing on our PLX50 gateway family. These are a lot used on legacy products. Basically, the PLX51 hard gateway allows to connect hard field devices such process instruments and bring the data into an Ethernet network. Our Profibus gateways provide connectivity for Profibus DP network to Ethernet IP or Modbus networks. And the PLX 51 DMP, it provides a DMP protocol routing to a controller or a SCADA master is using Ethernet IP or Modbus. And finally, the product that I'm going to be focusing most of the rest of the presentation is going to be the PLX 51 DF1 ENI. And this is, I'll have a few more slides to talk about this one. First, I'm just going to show an architecture. Both our hard modules can communicate using Modbus Ethernet IP, DMP. The input module communicates to transmitter like pressure transmitters or temperature transmitters, while the output module communicates with valves like positional valves. They both support 4 to 20 milliamp hour. This slide is just showing a sample of how our Profibus DP masters use. In this architecture, the PLX51 PVM is being used in a DLR network. If the ring is broken, as you know, then the communication becomes linear. But I is still able to get to, for those of you that are unable to watch, there's a SCADA asset manager software, and then there's a control logics, and there's a ETAP to being used as a DLR ring. So basically, like I mentioned, if the ring is broken, the communication becomes linear, but still be able to communicate with the both control logics and the SCADA or asset manager. The last architecture I want to show is the PLX51 DMPM. The DMPM is configured as a data concentrator in this architecture, where which means it is a master to other outstations, but at the same time, it is an outstation to a SCADA or another DMP3 master. Basically, upstream is it can be outstation, but downstream is a master. And in this architecture I'm showing, they are going through radios communication as well, where two of stations are communicating via stereo radio network. Next, I got what we've been waiting for, the PLX51 DF1 ENI. First, I'm going to discuss what is it, the key features that we have. So what is it? What is DF1 protocol? Basically, it's RS-232 media. It is different than DH485 protocol. This protocol is designed to connect to SLC in a different applications. A lot of times people confuse 485 with DF1. DF1 is an intelligent data routing between DF1 and Ethernet IP devices. It helps migrate all SLC 5 or 3 in micrologic systems. It can help solve issues with control logics and panel views, not having a DF1 port. And I'll go more about on these features in the next few slides. And the biggest thing is it can be used as a replacement for the obsolete Rockwell 1761 NetIn9 module. Because it can be used as a replacement, it is optimized for Rockwell automation architecture. It supports direct-to-tag, and it comes with a free configuration utility. The first architect or diagram that is showing is communicating via DF1 to MicroLogics, and on the other end, it's using a PC via Ethernet IP to program the MicroLogics. The next slide shows how it can communicate to an SLC via DF1, and on the other end, it is going Ethernet IP to Ethernet IP PC, but this time it is going through radios. So basically, it is programming via Ethernet IP your SLC. It does support message routing. What that means is you could send a DF1 message from your MicroLogics and send it directly to a ControlLogix processor.
Hey guys, Shawn jumping back in here to let you know about one of the new services I'm offering from my new downtown office. In addition to custom in-person training and virtual training, I'm also now offering one-on-one mentoring. This is a service that grew out of my online courses at theautomationschool.com, driven by students who completed my courses, were competent in their jobs, but then they'd run into difficult or confusing applications, and they wanted to hire me to sit with them virtually and review their projects, review their code, and ask questions. And I got to tell you, it's gone really well with the students I've done this with, and so now I'm releasing it to the public. If you want to know more, please use the contact link at either theautomationschool.com or theautomationblog.com. Now, another service I'm offering is the result of vendors and users coming to me and saying, Shawn, you got all that equipment in your studio. Could you test this for me? Or could you set up my computer and make sure it communicates to all those devices? And so I'm also offering PC configuration and application testing right here in my downtown office. So if you're interested in that, you can use the same two contact links to get in touch with me. And with that, that's all I have right now. Let's return to this week's episode of the Automation Podcast.
It can be used with a DCS communication to get information from a DCS communicating DF1 and get that information on any Ethernet IP controller, such as ControlLogix or CompactLogix.
Yeah, there are a lot of old KF2s out there connected to Honeywell DCSs to go DF1 to like Data Highway Plus, right? But that's ancient technology. And if you got to keep your old DCS, why not bring that DF1 to Ethernet IP into your control logic? So I like that slide. That's a good one.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Shawn. In talking about SCADA and DF1, you could also communicate via lease lines. They're still out there. Believe it or not, they're still out there, the lease lines modems. So get that information into your compact or ControlLogix. As long as it's an IP, you could communicate with it. This is one where you have an all HMI. It's a DF1 HMI communication, and you want to control it or be able to access it using Ethernet IP. You know, as you know, our new panel views does not have a DF1, but if
Mhm.
you still have DF1 HMIs, this gateway or this solution will help. Next, you have an old SLC that you want to upgrade the HMI. So it's the other way around. You want to put a new panel view, but want to be able to communicate with this old SLC. That same gateway, it's able to provide this communication as well. Well, let's summarize. This solution can be used for programming your DF1 PLCs from Ethernet PCs. It can communicate with DF1 HMIs and Ethernet IP PLCs. It can also communicate with between SLC and new Ethernet IP HMIs like PanelView Plus 6. Um, and it can communicate with your old DCS uh, SCADA out with or without line modems and be able to control them or get that information onto Ethernet IP processors. And finally, it can route messaging from your micrologics or your SLC 500s using DF1 to Ethernet IP processors.
Yeah, one of the things I think that makes this so important, we lost the Net E&I from Rockwell many, many years ago. And so, it was a great product to do what we're saying this product does, really bridge DF1 devices to Ethernet IP. And so having this in your toolbox, if you run into a situation like that, like there are, I'm not going to rehash all the examples Dennis went through, but some of those can be painful, like your old Panel V Plus dies, you put a Panel V Plus 7 in there because you don't want to redesign your screens. Oh, and by the way, your PLC's DF1. What do you do, right? We already talked about what you do if it's Data Highway Plus with ANX4, but what if it's DF1? Now you have a product that can save you all that re-engineering, and we don't have to worry about not having the net E and I from Rockwell anymore. So this is a product which is ProSoft makes and they support, and so you don't have to worry about just buying some weird thing that nobody's going to be able to help you with.
No, exactly. Thank you so much. And yes, that is exactly true. Uh, Another thing is that you got to think about is laptops no longer have a stereo port. So
Mm.
how you gonna program your SLC if there's no serial port? Sometimes they do have a USB to serial, but they not always work. Sometimes the new Windows OS doesn't allow it. So this one, being able to program using an Ethernet IP PC, I mean Ethernet PC, is better than not being able to program your SoC at all.
Yeah, and it can mount right on the DIN rail. You can bring it right to your Ethernet bulkhead connector, so you don't have to carry around your USB to serial converter, right? You just mount it in the enclosure, and it's there 24/7 with the PLC, and you're good to go. And then, of course, you can also remotely access it over the Ethernet, so you don't even have to bring your USB serial adapter to the PLC because the thing's on Ethernet. And if you're on your network, your company network, and it's on the company network, now you don't even have to plug in, right? You don't even have to open the enclosure, right? You can just, maybe you have a Wi-Fi access point on the plant floor. You can use your laptop, hit the access point, go through the cabled network right through this E&I into your serial device, your DF1 device. So you don't have to, again, you don't have to worry about opening the door or changing your bulkhead connector out. So lots of cool options for this. Matter of fact, any of you in the audience, if you guys are having an application for this, let us know. Comment on the show, use the contact form. If any of you have questions for Dennis, I'll send your question over to Dennis for you. But I'd love to hear what you guys think of this product, and I'll turn it back to you, Dennis.
Thank you so much, Shawn. I really appreciate that. You have great points, and this is exactly how this module is intended to use to make life easier for to be able to remote access those SLCs or DF1 communication equipment. Finally, in ProSoft solution help plants connect rather than replace their legacy equipment. Extending the life of their assets while saving money and saving time. It's our goal. And this is my last slide. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Just send them to me, Shawn. And I appreciate your time and having me back in the show.
Yeah, and Dennis, before we let you go, a couple questions for you. Really more about like how they get in touch with ProSoft if they want to learn more. Let's say you and I are traveling, they want to talk to somebody at ProSoft. What's the best website or way
Yes,
to get in
yeah,
touch with you guys?
yeah. You could go directly to prosofttechnology.com and there, if you do a search for the PLX51 DF1 ENI, it'll provide all the information there. And as a matter of fact, if you give me 1 second.
Sure.
For those of you that would like to know more about this product, go to our website and just search for PLX51 DF1ENI. Under you will have different architectures, some of the samples that I shown before, and you would also um, have hardware specifications, and it will have on the downloads menu, it will have the data sheet, your user manual, and some sample ladder that can be used.
Nice. And this is where I got all the information for the guys who watched the ANX4 videos I did. This is where I got it. Everything's just on the product page here. All your images, all your downloads. It's great that they have this tab dialog at the bottom. If you're listening, at the bottom of the screen, there's a tab dialog box where you can just go between features and specs and hardware and downloads and all that kind of good stuff. And it's very easy to get all your stuff right in one place. So very well done. And that's the long version of the website is prosoft-technology.com.
Thank you, Shawn.
Yeah, and thank you, Dennis, for coming on the show. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I actually, I just want to kind of touch some bases where we have different solutions for all, your legacy needs. We're here to help. And again, our technical support is top of the line and is willing to go the extra mile for you guys to get you up and running.
Well, thank you, Dennis, for coming back on the show. I really enjoyed going through those conversion products and learning more about the DF1 E&I. Thank you again.
Thank you, Shawn. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank Dennis for coming on the show and bringing us up to speed on those ProSoft products. I also want to thank you for tuning back in this week and listening to the show. And I do want to thank our members who give up 1 cup of coffee a week to support my work, and they get exclusive access to the video edition of this show because the vendor chose not to sponsor it. So thank you, members, for supporting my work. Now, with that said, if you know anybody looking for PLC, HMI, or SCADA training, please tell them about my website, theautomationschool.com. I'm also doing in-person training here in the beautiful Berkshires. Also, I want to mention our audience choice polls are now open. I'm asking you, who's your favorite automation vendors? Who's your favorite PLC vendor, both large and small? What distributed I/O do you use? Those are all the polls available today. There'll be more in the coming weeks. But in any case, if you visit theautomationblog.com, you'll see those audience choice polls at the top of the page. And in each poll, at the very bottom, is a link to all the other polls. So if you want to vote in one, you can go and vote in all of them at one shot. So in any case, I should say all the ones that are released so far. In any case, I do want to wish you guys all good health and happiness. I hope you have a great week. And until next time, my friends, peace.